Everglades really started out as an agricultural community. You look at this town and you think, this is a coastal fishing village, but its origins are really in supplying winter vegetables, first to the Union troops at Key West, but later on to markets up the East Coast. They had to get those vegetables somewhere, and they weren't growing in winter anywhere else in the United States except down here. Fishing eventually became the bread and butter of our economy here. In some ways, stone crabbing happened by accident because the original market was for blue crab. Stone crab was an annoyance, it was a nuisance, it was taking up space in your blue crab trap. And there were a bunch of people that have claimed to have been the first to build the original stone crab trap. That's the thing about the history of stone crabbing here, is there are about 4 different origin stories. And I think that if you take pieces of most of them, you eventually get the full true story. But it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, how did it evolve? It evolved from trial and error.
We got a few crabs in today. We're going to cook them up. We got a little over 100 pounds there. We got about 200 pounds in the other basket as well. The boats bring them in. The guys on the boats will leave the dock at like 4 o'clock in the morning. A lot of them, they won't get back in until just did a little bit ago, like 4:30. And some of them even a little bit later than that if it's a rough day. So they put in some really, really long days. We bring them back here in these stainless steel baskets, and then we cook them in the stainless steel pots. We can cook up to 400 pounds at a time, and then come up about 8 minutes, we cook them at 212 degrees, and the inside temperature gets up around 180 degrees. Put them in that tank back there, the second tank, and it cools them. And then after this process, we put them on the table. And this is the absolute most self-sustainable seafood that we have in this area because we can break the claws off the crab regenerates new claws. We don't have any other seafood in the area that we don't have to kill. I mean, it really is a green industry. We have to sort through this by size, and also if there's any impurities in the crab. Some of them aren't fully molted. They went through a shed or something and have what we call lights. They're just not full of meat, so we take those out as well. We try to grade as close as we can, so you end up with a restaurant grade stone crab. We've been in Everglades City since 1979, but Dad was doing this when he was a kid. Not stone crabbing, but he was net fishing and all. They did a lot of seine fishing. 2 years after I graduated high school, we moved up to Everglades City. A lot of the regulations they put in place and all has limited anybody from jumping in and out of the business. So this made it more stable as far as the people that do it for a living. You know, they don't have people to compete with that just jumped in last week. So yeah, that's a good thing, really. It's huge for the base of the town, you know. So now we have an industry instead of just tourism. Even though it depends on tourism too, it puts us more on a steadier platform. So we had the stone crab boats and stuff that work. A lot of people are employed through the stone crab boats. Most of these boats have 3 guys working on the stern plus the captain. Then you have whole families and stuff. There's families that live here that's 5 and 6 generations that have lived here. And you're not finding that very many places in Florida anymore.
So 10 film those. Okay, crack those for you. So do you want to try some of the stone crab mustard sauce? That's the traditional.
You have exactly 19 pounds times 3, 32, $626.80.
My name is Kelly Kirk. I'm 5th generation commercial fishing member of Kirk Fish Company in Goodland, Florida. I'm also one of the directors of the Florida Stone Crabbers Association. My family started here in Goodland when Goodland was created, and that was in the late 1940s. They moved over from Caxambus when they approached my grandparents and said, there's a piece of good land we want you to move to. We'll sell it to you really cheap and we'll kind of set you up in that area, and it's a good piece of land. It started with my grandfather and went to my father, and now it's to me. There was no inspiration other than living it. I grew up in it. I wanted to be a doctor when I went to college. I had to get away. I had to go to college to learn that this is exactly where I was supposed to be all along. There was no better place for me than the dock that I grew up on right here. And working with my family, and now my husband is part of it, and we're continuing it on for as many generations as we can. We want to keep the commercial fishermen alive and keep them fishing and providing fresh local seafood. Stone crabbing has always been what we've done. That it's part of who we are, and what I grew up doing was watching my dad stone crab or trap fish throughout the years. And they say that stone crabbing started in Everglades City, which is just 20 minutes away from us, and it really did. And there are times throughout seasons that Collier County produces up to 40% of the stone crabs in the state. So although the fishing fleet is not as big as it once was, we're still producing a huge product for the consumers all over Florida and beyond, and we're in the hub of it. Collier County does a lot of it, whether it's here in Goodland or right next door in Everglades City. The way we operate is we grade out medium, large, jumbo, and colossal, and each size designates, like we have a rule as far as how big they have to weigh to qualify for each size. So you'll see us, I'm standing here picking out mediums because I know right off the bat that it's a medium. I know the size and the weight of it, I can do that. Once you get into the bigger sizes, we always weigh them to make sure that they're going into the right basket. People are drawn to stone crabs because we're renewable, we're sustainable. We're not killing the crab by removing its claws, and we're protecting the crab. We want to make sure that stone crabs are a viable and sustainable resource for us for decades to come. Florida Stone Crabbers Association was formed in 2020, and it was myself and two other women, Carrie Doxey and Holly Dudley, both highly invested in the industry with deep ties here as well. And we've all worked really hard to unite the industry and make sure that both the stone crab is represented and the stone crabber is represented. And we also want to make sure that we're bridging that gap between management, the biology, and the actual fisherman side. And yes, stone crabs are shipped out. People get them in other parts of the country, or people can freeze them and eat them that way, but there's nothing like fresh off the dock, that day's product, ready to eat right then and there.
This room actually used to be our apartment. The front dining room was the bar. It's called the Little Bar because it was very small. We had a little pool table there and 15 stools. And where the bar is now in the back dining room used to be a grocery store that we ran. We just changed and remodeled all the insides. We collect things. The woodworks from our houses up north. This room's from the Star Everglades, the houseboat. It sunk under the bridge. My dad tried to help salvage it, and it was still going down, so the owner let us take whatever wood we wanted. It was in the movie The Wind Across the Everglades. Burl Ives, Gypsy Rose Lee, President Roosevelt were all on the boat. So it's very special to us. My parents bought a property in the late 60s. I moved permanently here in 72, and this came up for sale, and we thought, oh, this would be good, something interesting to do, because I fell in love with Goodland. We try to do all our seafood locally. We get our fish in daily. It's fresh from our next door, the Kirk fish. I've known the Kirks forever, and we know they're fresh because we see the boats coming in every day. The phone, half the time, the phones that ring, do you have stone crabs? Do you have stone crabs? Do you have stone crabs? People would love to eat them all year round, but we only serve them during stone crab season when they're fresh. Oh, we have some people come from Europe, all over the United States. A lot of people come here to spend the winter time here. We do a lot of local business also. But everybody knows about stone crabs, and they like them here because they know they're fresh.
The staple and the emblem, right, of Truluck is the stone crab. If and when you order that stone crab, you are gonna be assured of the quality of the standards, but the flavors of that ocean. To be a chef and to take pride in what I do and what I put out, knowing that this product is in my backyard, is something that I take pride in along with Truluck, because being a part of this amazing brand allows me not to only do what I love, but it allows me to provide the guests something that is very local. We're also making sure that we're protecting the ecosystem by sustainably farming. Finding that special occasion for each individual guest, I think is profound. If those family businesses were to die out?
It's a tough question.
If stone crabs disappeared tomorrow, will I be out of a job? First of all.
Oh, it'd be lose a lot of jobs, be the biggest, the thing we'd see the first, but mainly we'd lose a lot of heritage.
I think that we would lose a big part of our culture here. A lot of what Collier County and Naples and Marco Island were specifically founded on.
Stone crabbing has been something that's been a mainstay. As the economy has shifted in one way or another, one industry has drifted off, stone crabbing has stayed there, and it's been something that the community can hang on to and also provide employment for people throughout the year.
Would stone crabs still be available? Yes. Would they be fresh? No. I think that's unfortunately where the breakdown would be.
The thing about stone crab is it's been a common thread for decades. You know, people come here specifically to experience stone crab in the stone crab capital of the world.
I think that it would hurt financially, but I think it would hurt more because we don't get to share that with the world. We don't get to share what great product we have to offer with everyone.
Whether it's from a farmer or whether it's from our stone crab, they take such pride in what they provide.
I don't know anything but this. I grew up right here on this dock. I remember as a very young child jumping in a fish box and demanding new gloves so I could help unload my dad's commercial grouper boat when he went trap fishing. It's my whole life. I fished on this dock when I was bored. I sat on the back and read books. Everywhere you go, commercial fishing is such a family-oriented industry that there's always kids around. There's always the next generation watching and learning, and there is no product out there like stone crabs. There's no farm-raised stone crabs. There never will be. So we have to make sure that we're protecting both sides of it and encouraging the younger generation to come into the industry and setting them up for success.